As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that truth is larger than any one book or way, that religion and science go hand in hand, that integrity requires freedom of conscience. Diversity is something to celebrate. In the struggle for justice, we come alive. Our highest aspiration and calling is love. Thank you. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever path you are on, you are welcome here.
Big thank you to Arush. Did a great job. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our greatest covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
It is good to be back with you during Reverend Anthony's sabbatical part 2. I will be here through the end of April when Anthony returns. I would welcome everyone to West Shore, the best place to be on a Sunday morning here in Cleveland. During the time that I'm with you, please know that if it is ever helpful to talk to me about what's going on in these tumultuous times, you can reach out by text or by email or by phone, and we can set up a time to meet. This is a time for other announcements. I have not heard other announcements except for what's in your order of service. A reminder that there will be a sermon chat at 12 o'clock here in the sanctuary for anybody who wants to go a little bit deeper into the theme of the service. And so if you're here for the first or second time and you're comfortable doing so, we would invite you to raise your hand so that we can be sure to greet you. Oh, you courageous people, thank you and welcome. And now let's all take a few moments to greet one another, and the time of greeting will be ended with the ringing of the bell, so keep your ears peeled too. Thank you. Please be seated. And now I invite everyone who chooses to join together in a ritual that has become part of the heart of this congregation. We call it For All That Is Our Lives. And it is an invitation to honor within ourselves those hard times, but also those joyful, hopeful times that we bring with us into this sanctuary. We invite you to come forward and to choose a rock or stone from the bowl and to put it into the sand so that we can gather those together and see that we are surrounded by an abundance of joys and sorrows. You are also welcome to move over to the next table and to write out a few words about that joy or that sorrow or that concern. You may do so anonymously, or you can add your name and the best way to contact you if you would like someone from the pastoral care team or me to respond to what you bring with you. So please join together in that ritual now. And so you will hear the beautiful music of For All That Is Our Lives. And I will take these cards to the minister's office and I will hold them in my heart in prayer and in meditation. And I will take them to the pastoral care team as you have indicated is appropriate. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Judy Montgomery. She's going to spotlight the honorarium fund for us this morning.
Good morning. I am your candidate for commissioned lay minister, and I'm also a member of our congregation's coordinating team. And the coordinating team is made up of representatives of our 5 councils, which cover all of our program areas. And I come to you, as Betsy said, to speak on behalf of the honorarium fund, which is administered by the coordinating team. In the past, when a West Shore group or committee wanted to have an outside speaker come speak, there was always the quandary: how do we pay them? And oftentimes that kind of money would just come from a member's pocket. Now we have the honorarium fund to provide a source of funding to say thank you to outside presenters. Last spring, we were honored to be able to offer a 4-week allyship program taught by the late Patricia Wellborn. About 12 of us had the opportunity to learn a lot about Black history, a lot of things we didn't know or were aware of. Because of the honorarium fund, we were able to thank her by making a donation to the Lakewood Black Caucus, which she founded. In March this year, the fund is enabling West Shore to offer a 4-week class on Native American history that will be taught by Dr. G, who is a beloved teacher from Lakewood High School. So today's outreach offering is an opportunity for you to help replenish the honorarium fund so that the coordinating team can continue to support future initiatives that will truly make a difference here at West Shore. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
welcome to West Shore on this icy, dicey morning. It's it's February 9th, and you know what day this is. Super Bowl Sunday. So I have a couple suggestions if you don't like to watch football. One is only watch the advertising. They're great. It's $20 million for 30 seconds. They've got to be good. And there's some good ones out there. You'll like them. The cul-de-sac party's good. Watch for that. And, the one with Matthew McConaughey, which explains why we call it the Super Bowl and not the Super Cup or the Super Spoon. You'll like that one as well. There's also another suggestion, the Puppy Bowl. Who can't like the Puppy Bowl? Tune into it. You'll love it. And if all that fails, just dive into those snacks and forget all that other stuff. Forget your diet and your calories and just eat snacks. Who doesn't like snacks? But I think we should now dive into our active hope. On August 28, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King delivered what is today one of the best-known speeches of history. More than a half-century later, the words, "I have a dream," are still linked to his vision he shared that day. King described the future in which black and white children would join hands as brothers and sisters. And his own children would be judged on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. He was identifying a destination that could be reached, a reality that could be created. But in the 1960s, the idea of an African American might one day become president of the United States would have been dismissed as just a dream. While Black Lives Matters reminds us of how far we still have to go, just look at the impact that type of dreaming has had. Now, our authors, Joanna Macy and Chris Johnston, write that our dreams and visions for the future are essential to navigating the life and giving us which direction to move in. The ability to catch an inspiring vision is key to staying motivated. When we are moved by a vision that we all share with others, we become a part of a community with common purpose. We begin by imagining what we would like to have happen. The how will come later. I think they are defining dreamers. Yes, those dreaded daydreamers. Critics like to say that the internet causes our minds to wander off, but we've been wandering off all along. I was labeled as a dreaded daydreamer when I was in elementary school. My mother would go to parent-teacher conferences and she'd tell my mom, "Betsy, she just looks out the window, stares out the window, and I have no idea what she's thinking." My mom would come home and say, "What are you thinking in school?" Especially when you're looking out over the playground. And I would say, "Well, I'm thinking about who I can throw off the pile of snow out in the parking lot." Or I was thinking about skating or playing baseball, or what I can do with my friends. Or the best was, where can we find refrigerator or stove boxes that we could take home, cut windows and doors out of, and play in? And she would say to me, "Betsy, stop it. Stop. Look at your teacher. Listen what she has to say." So I did at least half of that. I would look at my teacher, but my mind would still wander off. Us daydreamers were clearly very undervalued. Now, we all know great visionaries: Dr. Martin Luther King, Jane Goodall, Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, Henry Ford, Rosa Parks, Gandhi. You guys could probably mention a million. I think collectively there's nothing in the universe you guys don't know. But They were creative dreamers. They could see injustice or a space that needed filled, and with resilience and resolute, they were motivated to work through challenges and connect their vision with dreams to reality. However, let's not underestimate the everyday grassroots dreamers like you and me. I had the pleasure of meeting a visionary and a dreamer. Now, so that there's not a bunch of confusion on this slide, that beautiful black young woman on the left, her name is Alicia. That old white woman on the right, that's me. I had the pleasure of my employer asking me to take a phlebotomy class. Phlebotomists are those people that come in and draw your blood, and I thought this will be a slam dunk for me because I've drawn blood for 36 years, only arterial blood, so this should be cool. So anyway, the course was 4 weeks long, 4 days a week, and it cost $1,000, which my employer paid for. So I got to the class, and I walked in, and I noticed right away that this was a very diverse class, and that my fellow students were very young, and I was the oldest one in the class by centuries, and I also was the only white woman in the class. So I sat down, and you know how you sit down with a new group of people? You just kind of sit there and what I call ride the eerie. You just kind of listen to what people are chatting about. And I noticed that they were chatting about, I've got to get through this course. I owe someone the $1,000. I had to quit my job to take this course. I've got to make it. And I thought, wow, this is serious. So, and I had my tuition paid for. How unfair is that? So in walks our instructor, who is Alicia, my Martin Luther King Jr. person. And the first thing she said was, I've heard you guys chatting, and I want you to know that I've been in your shoes. I'll tell you a little about myself, she says. Alicia was born one of 8 children, and her mother was terribly addicted. At 13, her sisters went to work on the streets, and her brother dealt drugs. And Alicia was the runner, and she could steal. She couldn't read or write. She had never been to school. She was never registered in school. If you don't have a permanent address or you move around a lot and you never registered for school, no one even knows you exist. There's no one from the school looking for you. And that's how Alicia was. So one day she was 8 years old, and her mother was in a terrible state of addiction, just terrible. And she ended up, these are hard words to say, beating her baby sister with a dog chain. All 7 of them were trying to stop her, but in that kind of rage, it's impossible. So her brother ran down the street calling for help, which someone called the police, and the police came. They took her mom to the hospital and then to jail or a center, and the children in her family all got put in foster care. Well, Alicia's father still had business dealings with her mother, so when he found out, he told his mother, which is Alicia's grandparents, that she was going to foster care, and they immediately tried to get Alicia to live with them. But with the meetings and the foster, and I'm not downplaying the foster system, they told Alicia's grandparents, you cannot have Alicia. Alicia is so ghetto, she will ruin your lives. But her grandparents wouldn't stop fighting for her. They fought for 4 years, till finally the system says, you can have her. She was 12 years old. Now this was tough. It was tough because they took Alicia home. The first thing her grandfather told her was, you'll never put two words together, and those two words are, I can't. You'll never say that in my house. And they got her health care, and they got her therapy, and they got her tutors, and she joined their church, and it was a long, hard road. Even Alicia said she was a very, very difficult person. But after years of working with her and loving her and telling her every day that she was loved, she was wanted, she was beautiful, she was perfect, Alicia started to turn around. It wasn't easy. But she was in high school, she got caught up in her studies, and her grandfather became ill. He had peripheral vascular disease, and with that disease, you get wounds on your lower legs. So there was a visiting nurse that would come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, change all the dressings, and then on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, her grandmother did the dressings. But Alicia would always run home or get home from school as quickly as she could because she wanted to watch that nurse. That nurse really interested Alicia. So one day, her grandmother said to her, Alicia, I'm not feeling well. I can't do your grandfather's dressings. Could you? And Alicia said, I think I can. And she did them. The next day, when the nurse came, the nurse said to her grandmother, was there another nurse here? Did another nurse come? And her grandmother said, no. And she said, you know, these dressings I think are better than I could do. You did a really good job. And her grandmother said, I didn't do those dressings. Alicia did. And she stood up and looked at Alicia and she said, Alicia, you should become a nurse. And that was it. That's what Alicia needed. Along with all the love and care she had gotten, she needed that. She graduated from high school, went to LPN school, worked, got her degree as a nurse, all the time working, got her master's degree, got her wound care specialist certificate, became an NP, and she is now a student at Ursuline getting her PhD in nursing practices. She's amazing. She's amazing. And our class? Our class bonded. They wrapped their arms around me, and we were bonded. And we did. Alicia had a very different style of teaching. We would often sing rap songs about bacteria and dance around the room. She had all kinds of ways for us to learn. She was just great, and we had fun doing it. And then we'd practice sticking each other. And so we would, 4 days every afternoon, we had a lot of punctures. I think if we drank water, it would all come out all these holes. We looked like the wounded walking. We were really black and blue. On Thursdays, Alicia would say, go home, heal up, come back on Monday. But she'd always say to us at the end of every single class, I love you. I love you. So we decided we would have a song and dance for Alicia. So we got together, and it was obvious from the get-go, I cannot dance. I said, I'm sorry, I'm white. And they said, no hip-hop. No hip-hop. And they said, how about salsa? I said, only on chips. And I said to them, how about a polka? And they said, a polka? Are you kidding me? So anyway, it ended up we were a singing group. I was E. coli. My singer friend, who sang over me for obvious reasons, was Anna Sarka. And our backup dancers and singers were the bacilli. And we knocked it out of the park, and Alicia loved it. But like all good things, our class ended, and it was time for us to take our state boards. And we did. and we all passed and got state licenses. And we even did so well that every one of us got a national license. So it was Alicia. Like the blood that we put in our test tubes in the medium, Alicia was the medium for us. Like the bacteria that grew, we grew. So don't ever underestimate or underutilize our dreamers. Our dreamers are important. Don't knock those daydreams out of those little third graders. There's important stuff going on in there. So dreamers, thank you. And keep dreaming, baby. Keep dreaming. Peace.
Thank you. In this year of political turmoil and divisiveness, Reverend Anthony and I invite you to join us in exploring Active Hope, a book and a roadmap for responding to the crises and opportunities of our time. The focus from Active Hope for this month is to open to a compelling vision for a future and to dare to believe that it's possible. I'm saying these words as government agencies are being dismantled, dedicated public employees terminated, policies of accountability trashed, security systems breached. There has never been a greater need for a compelling vision for the future of democracy and for caring for life on our planet. Let's remember what we've learned so far from Active Hope. We start down there in the corner with gratitude, the sparkle in a baby's eyes, the beauty and silence of the falling snow, immersing ourselves, but not just in the beauty of the lotus, but being willing to see and accept the muck from which it grows, like the venom of a dictator turning us against one another and encouraging brutality. We are being asked to open to the suffering of our world, allowing it to break our hearts open again and again, compassion compelling us to protect life. We do this not just once, but many times, every day. This is not a to-do list, but a spiral of active hope, grounded in gratitude, hearts broken open again and again, hearts charged up. Active hope calls us to open beyond individualism, to remember who we really are, part of this interdependent web of existence, an expression of life on this planet, crying through us. Active hope also calls us beyond the prevailing order of power or model of power over, calling us to mutuality, to the model of power with, which relies on synergy, where we know that together we are more, we can envision more, we can do more than we can as isolated individuals. Power with, arising from gratitude, from our love for life, is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism and of the beginnings of religious movements throughout time. There is nothing more powerful or creative or disruptive than love, which keeps pouring itself into us, into the world. Active hope calls us into community, to see with new eyes, a vision, a new vision for our world, which will guide new ways forward. How do we do that? Joanna and Chris, our authors of Active Hope, observe that in education and in public discourse, our culture normalizes switching off the imagination, as Betsy illustrated for us in her early years, privileging instead the norms of this discipline or that analysis. We need disciplines, we need analyses, but when we switch off the imagination, we risk getting stuck in opinions and fear. Now, neuroscientists would chime in that we are wired for efficiency. So it takes intentional intervention to open beyond those norms and not get hooked by inflammatory opinions or kidnapped by fear. So Active Hope calls us to recognize that imagination is a form of intelligence. If we are to see with new eyes, the task of active hope we explore today, we must actively liberate our imagination and draw on everything we've learned about change. A foundational rule of change is to open our minds and hearts to the possibility that things could be different. As Stephen Covey advises, begin with the end in mind. And a design principle teaches what comes before how. We have to identify what we need, what life energy is calling forth through us. Only with that clarity can we start to think about how. Our task and intention at this stage of active hope is to open to a vision so compelling that it touches us emotionally, it moves and motivates us. To liberate our imagination requires us to shift beyond static thinking. And so this slide here says, this is how things are. If something isn't in the picture, it just isn't going to happen. So to liberate our imagination, we have to move beyond static thinking to process thinking, which includes seeing things as they are, but not getting stuck there. We learn that what we do helps to shape what happens next. We learn that we have agency. We have power, especially when we are acting together. If we are helping to shape the future, what is it that we hope for? What does our planet need? What does our democracy call us to do? Traditionally, in organizational development, vision asks those three questions. What would you like to see? How do you imagine it coming about? And what's your role? All of these are important questions, but active hope reminds us that we're never facing these problems just as individuals. Ours must be a shared visioning to create the capacities in us and around us for transformation. What do we envision? How do we imagine it coming about? What are our roles as individuals, as a spiritual community, as a movement with love at the center, at the heart, calling us to express love through the values of democracy in all we do, including working for social justice? What is it we'd like to see? Let's take a few moments to find out. I invite you to close your eyes if you're okay with that. And it's okay to keep them open, softly focused. Take a few moments to notice the passage of your breath and all that you bring with you in your body. As we open together to active hope in a time of tumult, let's imagine sitting here or standing here 20 or 30 years from now. Looking back at changes the human family collectively envisioned and brought about. Be patient and gentle with yourself. Changes to address climate change. Changes to bring peace to the world. feeling all your feelings, especially if you can't imagine anything. And opening again, acknowledging that numbness or fear or rage. Breathing into your heart with courage and kindness. And looking again. Imagining again. What is something that you notice about this future world, this glimpse of the future world? What happened? What turning points or moments of history made this future possible? And taking a moment to wish that future you well, and to wish that future health and happiness, mutuality, justice, kindness, responsivity. And coming back at your own pace. Our authors remind us of the message we heard last week from Reverend Beth Marshall, that we can learn from everything that happens to us, including disappointments, pesky hindsight, and nightmares. First, disappointment. Active Hope reminds us that not all imagined futures come to pass, that the old system pushes back, resists change again and again in ways we had not anticipated, and that our task in relinquishing the old hope frees us to acknowledge new conditions we face and new inspirations that will come through. And then that pesky imaginary hindsight. This is the gift of hindsight, not used as self-blame of what I should have said, what I should have done, or what I definitely should not have said, but as an invitation to step into the power of learning from our disappointment. And thirdly, that nightmares can inspire us too. Active Hope invites and cautions us to open to our dreams for the future, and they may come as cautionary nightmares, the earth crying within us. Our dreams and visions can guide us, but only if we listen. The good news is that we are not facing the nightmares and pesky hindsight and disappointments alone. Life relies and has always relied on co-intelligence, which arises when we face the same needs, when we share inspiring ideas and visions, making room to hear what moves other people too. The same vision can bring people together with shared purpose. This is how visions catch on and spread with amazing speed. With co-intelligence, a visionary impulse is not something we invent. It is something we serve. As part of the team of life on earth, can we learn to access the wisdom of our world for the benefit of all? Sometimes we experience such a strong intuitive pull toward a course of action that we know it to be the right thing for us. Even when the odds seem stacked against us, we feel these powerful summonings deep in our hearts. It's as if they're lifting our bodies up, and we are drawn to respond. For myself, this has happened several times, and always the experience changed my life. Why am I smiling? And not always in the way I assumed, because I was only looking as an individual. I wonder about your experiences of choosing and being chosen. And I would invite you to sit with that question and to allow yourself to remember. In the model of co-intelligence, we're never alone in these endeavors. I needed to learn the larger perspective to every one that I charged forward madly and gaily to do. A larger story is always taking place, and we've just chosen, or been chosen, to play a particular role in it. If we trust life, if we trust in a wider intelligence, a deeper love, we open to the support of many allies, helpers who are embodying their roles too. May we support one another in trusting life, participating in this wider, evolving intelligence of the heart, the creative and collective heart, creating spiritual community together to meet this moment and open to a new vision. These closing words are adapted from Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not foolish. It is based on the fact that human history is not only a history of cruelty, but also a history of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember the times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, it helps us build the capacities to act and the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a benevolent direction. Amen. Thank you.
Please join me. We extinguish this
Flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. This we carry with us until we meet again. Our musical benediction is a new song. Please feel free to listen to the first verse and then join in as you choose. Please rise.